So let's talk about 2020, a year when Hollywood's biggest night got completely turned on its head by one single movie. A movie that wasn't in English, a movie that just shattered every single expectation. Of course, we're talking about Parasite, and the absolute visionary director behind it, Bong Joon-ho. So how on earth did he pull off the impossible?
When the dust settled, the praise was just everywhere. The Los Angeles Times, I think, said it best. This wasn't just some historic, symbolic win. The Academy actually gave the award for Best Picture to the actual Best Picture. It was a moment of pure, undeniable greatness being recognized.
And we're not just talking about one victory here. This was a total conquest. 4, count 'em, 4 major Oscars in one single night. To really get just how seismic this was, you have to understand it basically shattered a century of tradition.
I mean, think about this. For the very first time in the Academy's 92-year history, the top prize, Best Picture, went to a film not in the English language. It completely smashed what Bong himself so perfectly called the one-inch-tall barrier of subtitles.
So that's the real question, isn't it? How did this darkly funny, incredibly tense thriller about class warfare from South Korea manage to captivate the entire planet and basically rewrite the rules in Hollywood? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go back to the beginning.
So let's just zoom back in on that incredible night. Because this wasn't just a win, it really was a clean sweep of Hollywood's most prestigious awards. Okay, so Best International Feature, that was the safe bet. Everyone saw that one coming. But then, the upsets just started rolling in. Best Original Screenplay, whoa, huge surprise. Then, Best Director for Bong himself, beating out absolute legends of the industry. And then, the big one. The one that made history, Best Picture. It wasn't just a win, it was a total statement.
And in this moment of pure class, Bong gets up on stage and uses his acceptance speech to honor his heroes. He quotes another nominee, the great Martin Scorsese. It was just this beautiful nod to the idea that the most personal, deeply felt stories are the ones that connect with everyone everywhere, which is a perfect summary of his own work, right?
But to really understand the artist, you've got to understand his roots. And Bong's journey from being this quiet kid in Daegu all the way to an Oscar-winning director was totally shaped by art, by sociology, and crucially, by political upheaval.
So he's born into an artistic family, but then he surprises everybody by going to university to study sociology. And this focus on social structures, you combine that with his activism during South Korea's democracy movement, well, that became the absolute foundation of his filmmaking. See, he wasn't just interested in telling cool stories. He was interested in dissecting society itself.
And believe me, this wasn't just stuff he was reading in a book. He was on the front lines of student protests, constantly getting hit with tear gas. That kind of first-hand experience with conflict, with the struggle between classes and power, that is baked right into the DNA of every single one of his movies.
Okay, so after film school, Bong starts building this filmography that just refuses to play by anyone's rules. And with each new film, he's sharpening this style that is so uniquely his. He starts out with a quirky, dark comedy. Then bam, he delivers this chilling crime masterpiece, Memories of Murder. Then he follows that up with The Host, a monster movie that didn't just do well, it shattered box office records. And from there, he took his vision global with the sci-fi epic Snowpiercer. See the pattern? Each film was a bigger, bolder, more ambitious swing.
And right here, this is where you can really see his genius at work. Just take The Host. Is it a terrifying monster movie? Oh, absolutely. But is it also a hilarious comedy about a totally dysfunctional family? Yes, it's that too. He mashes these genres together to create something you've literally never seen before. It forces you to look at a familiar setup from a completely new and wild angle.
Which brings us finally to Parasite. This is the film where all of his themes, all his insights from sociology, and his complete mastery of tone, they all came together to create this perfect, unstoppable force of cinema.
I mean, the critical reception was just staggering. We are talking near-perfect scores from pretty much everybody. This wasn't some divisive, artsy film that critics were arguing about. No. It was universally and enthusiastically hailed as an absolute masterpiece.
And you have to remember, this wave of excitement started long before the Oscars. At Cannes, the world's most prestigious film festival, it took home the top prize, the Palme d'Or. And it did it with a unanimous vote from the jury, which is incredibly rare. It's a sure sign that a film's power is just undeniable.
But what's really at the heart of this story? Well, Bong himself said he wanted to capture the anxiety and the fear that comes with modern economic life. It's a story about desperation, and that feeling knows no borders, which is exactly why it hit home for audiences absolutely everywhere.
So let's break it down. What exactly is the Bong Joon-ho style? It's like a specific recipe, right? A unique artistic signature that the entire world now recognizes instantly.
People have called it the Bong tale, and this is where his sociology background is so key. You've got the genre mixing, the sudden shifts from laugh-out-loud comedy to pure horror. These aren't just tricks. It's his way of showing us how absurd, how funny, and how terrifying the structures of our society can be, often all at the exact same time.
And his technical skill is just as legendary. He often storyboards his entire movie and uses this technique called cutting while filming. Basically, he only shoots the exact angles and shots he knows he's going to use. There's no waste, no extra takes for safety. That is the mark of a director with absolute, total command of his vision, who has already edited the entire movie perfectly inside his head.
And trust me, he is not slowing down one bit. His next film, Mickey 17, is a science fiction thriller starring Robert Pattinson, and it's already one of the most anticipated movies on the entire planet.
Look, Bong Joon-ho proved that a great story doesn't care about borders or language. He forced an entire industry to look at the world differently. And now, really, the only question left is what uncomfortable, what hilarious, and what profound truth is he going to show us about ourselves next?